to Artist in Recovery / Darryl P. Morning, Darryl. It's John Weaver from Roseman, California. The Diary of a Griever named John Weaver, which is me. 7:45 in the morning, West Coast time. It is April the 8th of 2025 for a Tuesday. So I'm responding to that little short that you sent out there, men today that are different than 30 years ago, and you're asking the question, what do you think what they would call themselves back then? Short answer, Jim Jones. You're questioning about things like that, and clearly you hadn't. We're both in the same age bracket, dude, and you would have heard this guy. Parents were probably talking about him, maybe. I hoped. About Jim Jones and his cultism back in the 70s. Not to mention Hare Krishna. The religious fanatical nut jobs out there, not to mention Scientology. Brainwash you. L. Ron Hubbard in his book of Dianetics, which was a big hot seller back in the 70s and 80s when he wrote the damn crap. He even tried his hand out at being a science fiction writer. Crashed and burned on that one. No, well, actually I was referring to the movie that got adapted from a book that I don't know if it was on the bestseller or not. I don't remember. But I know that Dianetics was one of the top popular books of rearranging your brain. I wasn't about to go through that. My brother tried. He said no. He wasn't going to deal with that crap. But if the politicians actually had been that gullible, well, definitely a heartier Republicans back then compared to the wimps we've got right now. At least they cared about America. At least they cared about freedom. They cared about, well, maybe a lot of conservative craps that I didn't pay attention to, but at least they made a good argument on television. Not being whiner babies as I'm seeing them today, and sycophants and sycophants. Just suck. We must suck on the Trump for nourishment. Oh, even better. When Musk is already feeling the pinch. The independents and the corporate media in a tizzy are laughing at Musk. The people on social media are laughing. They want the old trash bag to stop with the tariffs. You're talking about ego, dude. We are talking about massive ego here. Two massive egos, and one of them's getting the stocks dropping like crazy. The Tesla is becoming the Edsel or the Yugo. I'm reacting to it. I'm not cheering. I'm not laughing. Maybe a small chortle. And that's about it. And then with that coffee, well, I'm sorry. Coffee's going to be expensive, isn't it? Well, at least I got a bag of tea somewhere around here I can have a caffeine fix. Wait a second. Tea's going to be affected too with the tariffs? So I can't have my coffee, I can't have my tea, I can't have my sugar with it because the sugar is going to be problematic. I can't have my morning breakfast. I can't have my bananas. Why? Because they're going to be tariffed. What will I do? If I was Elon Musk, I'd import. But then again, I'd be paying a lot of money on the damn thing if I had money to begin with to do so. And apparently, Musk wants his money. He just got himself a contract, again from the federal government, to dump more into his aerospace. Screw Tesla. Screw Twitter. Now he's got a problem with Twitter because they're jumping on his ass. And he's threatening to shut him down. He's supposed to keep it open and friendly for people. But now he's closing deals. Now he's closing doors on the thing. Try that one. You were talking about men were a lot different. Men and women were a lot different back then. Conservative women were definitely thinking of times gone by, but kept forgetting that times gone by have really put a hell of a lot of damage and civil rights into action, where I guess conservatism was going to be fading out a little bit. But no, some people actually did put their faith and trust in Ronald Reagan and his damn voodoo economics. Bush tried to say no on it, did it anyway. He kept saying no new taxes, and what's he do? He does taxes. But Reagan doing tariffs, no one was on board, at least not to my knowledge, would have been on board for tariffs, but if he did. But no, they did the voodoo economics. They did the trickle-down theory. It's supposed to trickle down to the people down below. We're supposed to be wealthy. Didn't happen, did it? We have had job losses back then. We had people trying to search for jobs. It's like the ratios were different back then. You're coming out of high school. Were you even guaranteed a job? You're coming out of college, were you actually guaranteed a job? No. But you had to scrounge for one. You had to scramble for one. Coming out of high school, you didn't know your butt from anything else. And the only jobs were available were posted, and if you got to them fast enough. We had job boards at the high school. And good way of getting your feet wet. If you were part of a city's program to be working, it's a good thing to be putting on a resume. It helped out with the jobs. The city kept you on for the summer youth employment program. Good. Which means you learn job skills. How to be on time. At least. It was hard looking for work. It was hard getting into the job. Keeping a job is another fun part. Stick to it. That was the things that high school kids were looking for. I'd seen a few people my age working. There was even one young lady who was a year younger than I was, but in the job experience, she was 1 year older, and she was the supervisor. I'm talking down to a kid who's talking down to me. How dare she? Good way of losing a job. I didn't hear any cult things happening back in the 80s. We didn't have it. I mean, there was just no way. We were still recovering from cultists trying to spring up from different things and different sources. And the major one that I mentioned was Jim Jones. A frickin' preacher had brainwashed people and got them into his cult, transported them off the United States and a French Guiana, and eventually kills them. Yeah, things were a lot different back then when you were a lot younger. Different perspective. You weren't old enough, neither was I, to really have that kind of context. I love the thing to go through in it.